Good morning, church. It's Reverend Ahmondra, and like you, my heart is heavy this morning because of the loss of our beloved sister, Lynn Guilfoyle. Lynn was a bright light in our community and in our hearts. She will be so missed. And this morning, I just want to take a moment to send out love and light to her family, because they were very far away from her. But I'm knowing that all of the love that we sent out to her, they have received. Our sister left us way too soon. And it's interesting because I just spoke to Lynn on Tuesday of last week and asked her if she would lead meditation for me. And she said yes, of course. And my topic that I was discussing with her was a topic that I picked out over a month ago. But since everything is in divine right order, that topic is perfect for today and where each and every one of us is in our life. Every society has words of wisdom that float around in the community. And these words of wisdom are called sayings. Sometimes they're called proverbs. Now, a proverb is a saying from which we learn something, that we gain wisdom from. Now, in a biblical sense, there's a book of Proverbs, and that book was written by King Solomon. However, Proverbs aren't just in the spiritual realm. They can be applied to every aspect of life. And sometimes they come out of the secular world or the popular world. Now, these words of wisdom in all of these proverbs are here to help us live fulfilling lives or to help us deal with any challenge we may be facing. They're also words to help guide us as we move forward in life. Now, many cultures share the same proverbs, but they're in different words. So this morning I want to just share a couple with you. The Japanese proverb, one's act, one's profit, is similar to the English proverb, you reap what you sow. Meaning, everyone eventually always faces the consequences of their actions. Now, China is said to have more proverbs than any place on the earth. And one of their proverbs states this: it takes more than one cold day for the river to freeze 3 feet deep. Now, the English version, which has the exact meaning using different words, is Rome was not built in a day. Meaning, you need to keep on working hard and you need to stick to it. Long-term efforts can contribute to successful achievements. Now, America has proverbs that are specific to our culture. Now, we grew up with these proverbs, and as I say them, I know they're going to be familiar to you. So the first one, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Meaning there's only so much you can do to help someone. And at some point, that person has to stand up and start helping themselves. Another one is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Meaning you shouldn't put everything you've got, your time, your energy, into one thing. Because if you do that and it doesn't work out, then you might be left with only broken eggs. Another one, don't count your chickens until they hatch. Meaning, until something actually happens, you shouldn't assume that it will. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. Meaning, you should hold on to and be thankful for that what you have, instead of risking losing everything in the pursuit of something that you don't have. Another one. From life's little acorns, mighty oaks do grow. Meaning, Great people and accomplishments often come from modest, simple beginnings. Now, in our philosophy, a lot of these proverbs don't line up, but I just wanted to share them with you because we grew up hearing these words and standing inside of them and making them a part of our world and our life at times. And when those proverbs become a part of our culture, they also become the words we start living by. Now, there's an African proverb, and this African proverb was popularized in this country by a famous person. And this happens sometimes with proverbs. The proverb is, "It takes a village to raise a child." And this reflects on African culture, meaning that it's the family and the community that participates in providing everything that children need. This particular proverb that all of us are familiar with in this country was popularized by Hillary Clinton in 1966 when she wrote a book with the same title, "It Takes a Village to Raise a Child." Now, another proverb that came out in the 1920s and was made famous by John Fitzgerald Kennedy in a 1962 television interview when he was speaking about the Vietnam War. This is one that we hear all the time. "There is a light at the end of the tunnel." Now, meaning that you might be experiencing dark times right now, but these dark times aren't going to last forever, because if you look closely, you'll see some light, some relief coming in the near future. Now, when he used that proverb, the country had been at war in Vietnam for a long time, and they were fatigued, and there was protest against the war, and he was trying to reassure the country that they could just wait just a little while longer, because he could see that there was going to be some relief, that there was going to be an end to this very long war. Now, the year 2020 has felt like a dark tunnel, not only for our country, but for the world. We have been in a place of not understanding and not knowing what is going on, what's going to happen. And it has appeared that we have been existing in a place without light. But just recently, many of us started to feel like we could see a light at the end of this dark tunnel. And the light looks like a vaccine, something that will support us in dealing with this deadly virus, this thing which has appeared to cover our world in darkness and put us in a tunnel. But this morning, I want to take a different perspective about the tunnel and the light. I want to look at this proverb from a different angle. We always say God is light and that we are always surrounded by this light. If this is truly our truth, then this perceived darkness in the tunnel is just that, something we have perceived. It's not necessarily our truth. Although we may not see the light or feel it, that does not mean it's not there. There is not a spot where God is not. And God is light. So there is not a spot where light is not. This morning, I bring to you a different perspective. There is light in the tunnel. That the light is not just at the end of the tunnel, the light surrounds us inside of this tunnel. And that the light is shining brightly because it is the light of spirit. Now you might say, come on, Reverend Ahmondra, You're talking about a very dark time that we've all been experiencing. And what I say is that maybe it's just the appearance of dark days. Yes, there are days when we experience pain and anguish and worry and doubt. And during these times, it does feel like and look like we're existing in darkness. But we're really never in darkness. God's light is there. It's up to us to look for it and to identify it in our surroundings. We are always inside of spirit, and spirit is light. We can tell that we are always in spirit because there's always something good happening around us, even when all we perceive is complete darkness. Let's talk about some of the lights in the tunnel. So I want to uncover what has been occurring during these perceived dark days of the pandemic. So, one very bright light is the fact that the pandemic caused our scientists to work faster in developing new medical technology. The technology that they used to create this vaccine is totally and completely new. They are not using a dead virus to help with an active virus. It's a complete and total new technology. Now, they've been working on this technique for years, but they speeded up their work because of the pandemic. And as a result, we will no longer risk catching a virus from being injected with a dead virus to help us get rid of the active virus. This new medical technology will help us defeat any coronavirus that might come from the future or come in the future. The second bright light. We now use our technology in a total and complete different way. And I spoke a little bit about this in an earlier sermon. But technology has expanded our world, and as a result of that expansion, it's now being used in ways it was never used before. It's being used in business to facilitate meetings. It's being used in the medical field for patients to talk with doctors. It's being used more inside of family. A good example of use with the family was with me. My great niece got married in Bermuda, and I was unable to travel to Bermuda. But because she put the ceremony live on Zoom, I was able to be right there with her in the moment. I have missed so many events that took place in Bermuda in the past because I wasn't there, and we didn't think about using the technology in this way. So, because of the pandemic, that bright light was shown on the technology that allowed us to say, hey, she could be here. We'll just put it on Zoom. And I wasn't the only one. There were several people on the Zoom call from all over the United States. Another very profound experience I had this month, my good friend and neighbor, 87-year-old Judy, had a stroke and went into hospice. And hospice was far away at her daughter's home, and I wasn't able to visit her. And Judy wasn't speaking, she was sleeping. And I called her daughter and I said, can we just do a Zoom call? Can you just put the phone like close to her ear so that I could see her and say something to her? And her daughter said yes. And sure enough, she put the phone close to Judy's ear, and I could see Judy, and she was asleep, and I started talking, saying how much I loved her, how much I missed her, thanking her for the words of wisdom, thanking her for always looking at my sermons. She would pull them up on her iPad, look at them, and then she'd call me and say, "That was a great message." I was talking to Judy, and her eyes fluttered and opened, and I could see her focusing on the screen. She couldn't talk, but she winked at me. And in that wink, I knew that she knew what I was saying. I also knew that she was saying goodbye. And she was acknowledging our friendship. As a result of using that technology that way, I was able to say goodbye to my dear friend and have her also say goodbye to me. That wouldn't have happened had not we used that technology. I was also able this month to attend a memorial service for another dear friend who made her transition. And on that call, there were people from all over the world because she was a world traveler. And had it not been for using that technology in that way, we would not have been able to say goodbye to our dear sister Beth. Every day on television, we also are hearing about these wonderful people who've made their transition. And as a result of the pandemic, we're being able to see people and hear about people we never would have heard about, never would have seen about. We're able to send love to their families, love that we know that they're feeling. That's another bright light. Our world, our community has expanded, and we've been able to embrace perfect strangers because we hear about them. We know about them. Now, another bright light that happened, and maybe a lot of people didn't think about it, as a result of the pandemic, more Americans got involved in exercising their right to vote more than any other time in history. Now, that is because there were more opportunities available for people to vote because of the pandemic. Now, prior to this, politicians have been trying to provide more opportunities for voting, and they just never could get it together. Along comes the pandemic, and bam, people can vote early, they can vote by mail, and people did. And we had the largest turnout in the history of our voting system. The pandemic, yes, helped us to go into a very dark tunnel, but it also allowed us to see that there's bright light in that tunnel and that there's some good stuff happening, even in that perceived darkness. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, reminds us, looking out at nature, we see that for anything to grow, darkness is essential. The darkness is every bit as valuable as the light. A seed must be sown into the darkness of the soil before it can reach for the light. The earth was created in the darkness of the universe. You and I spent our first months in the darkness of our mother's womb before we were birthed into the light. Those dark and seemingly difficult experiences we face become the sacred foundation that calls for us to align with the higher vision. They become the launching pad for our lives to reach a higher way of being. Bless the dark moments in your life, just as you do the moments of light, for they both reflect the glory of the divine. So I invite each of us, let's step into 2021 with high expectations. Because out of the darkness, something new will pop up. We are going to have a total and complete new world, a new normal, a different world, a world we have been imagining and visioning for. I know this to be the truth because I also know everything is in divine right order. When we look back at 2020 from 2023, we will be able to see how far we've advanced. And that all of the challenges that we faced in that darkness of 2020, we will be experiencing the bright days of 2023. I do not know why I'm using 2023. That's just the year that Spirit gave me to share with you. So to those of us who feel like we're in a dark tunnel because we are experiencing major loss, major setbacks, we're in the middle of a deep grief, saying goodbye to our loved ones, and knowing that as we move forward, they won't be there with us. Let us remember, we are not alone. And God's light is shining right there brightly. It's supporting us. It can comfort us. Let's change that old proverb into a new one. There is light in the tunnel. It is the divine intelligence of God. And it is providing for us exactly what we need. So I would like to end by sharing with you a proverb out of the African American community. Give me my flowers while I can still smell them. Meaning, don't wait until I am gone to show me love. Show me while I am still with you. I want to add a blessing this morning to these words. And I want to add a blessing to each and every one of us. And I want us to hold together, understanding and knowing that love is right here with us. The light is right here with us. Thank you. Namaste. And I also want you to know, if you didn't hear, the center is providing gift bags to the residents at Interfaith Community Services 24-hour shelter. There are 20 residents, and we have allotted $20 for each gift bag. If you'd like to make a contribution this year, you can do it through making a contribution on PayPal, or send a check to the office, or you can call the office and Jan will take whatever billing information you have to give her over the phone. Now, also, if you want to send a message, feel free to type up a message and email it to Jan. She can print it out, and when I get ready to put all the items in the bags, I can drop a note in the bags. Last year was the first year that we adopted the shelter, and we have created a tradition. Prior to us adopting the shelter, no one had ever thought about giving the residents of the shelter Christmas gifts. Everybody was adopting families. We adopted families, but we also adopted the shelter. We put a tradition in place. So this is our second year of donating to the shelter. I thank you in advance for all your contributions because we are a giving community. So I have no doubt that those bags will be filled when I deliver them on Christmas Day. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you. Have a glorious rest of the month. And go into the new year, not feeling like you're in a tunnel of darkness, but knowing you're in a tunnel of light, God's light. Thank you.